So I just finished a rewatch of Solo, a Star Wars story. And this is because of my good friends at Not a Bomb podcast. I wanted to really give it a shot. I mean, they did a show on Solo, a Star Wars story, and they generally gave it a positive review. So my question is, do I really dislike it as much as I disliked it the first time? And they encouraged me to go and try to rewatch it, maybe give it a second look. So I just finished giving it that second look. I did that, and and I didn't think I would change my mind. I thought I would still dislike it. I vehemently dislike it. But after looking at it again, come to realize that I think I do like it on that second watch. So what had happened was what had happened was when I watched it the first time in theaters all those years ago, I had a lot of preconceived notions of what I thought the Solo backstory should be. And if you're deep into the Star Wars lore, you kind of know the broad strokes of Solo's backstory. And when I saw the story the first time, as it is hammered out in Solo Star Wars story, I was not enamored with the choices that they made the first time. And some of those choices, I mean, there were a lot of things that I really liked about the movie, even when I first saw it. But when I watched it, then when I watched it on rewatch, but so there are a lot of things that kind of bugged me and bothered me. So on the rewatched, what I did instead of watching the movie with my own preconceived notions, I watched it and allowed the movie to tell me the story that it wanted to tell. And on that rewatch, I realized I maybe judged it too harshly. So the things that I liked about it were kind of emphasized on the second watch. I liked them better, so to say. And the things that had bothered me, I was able to allow them to tell the story that they needed to tell on that rewatch. And I was able to accept that story on its own terms and overall had a positive effect on how I enjoyed the movie. So one of the things that kind of bugged me was that it was directed by Ron Howard, and he was like the second director, and that's in and of itself that's not bad. It's like if you want to have a director on your project, Ron Howard is a great choice. He's directed some fantastic movies, and then there were some movies he directed that weren't so fantastic. But the point being that I feel like if they were going to choose Ron Howard, they should have chosen the first time instead of having him as a secondary director or a backup director. Once they decided to fire the original directors, being Lord and Miller, I really wanted to see the kind of story that Lloyd and Miller, or Lord and Miller, sorry, could have told had they been able to direct a movie. Like I really love some of their other projects, particularly 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street. Those movies I really enjoy. And they're also responsible for the stories in Into the Spider Verse and Across the Spider Verse. So really, I wanted to see those stories, but and I probably got some of it in this movie since they did some of the movie and then they were fired. Then they brought on Ron Howard and he completed the project. And overall, overall it was good. I liked how particularly how they took some of the tropes and they kind of turned it sideways. So one of them was in almost every Star Wars movie, somebody says, "I've got a bad feeling about this," but in this movie. Solo, a Star Wars story, Han Solo says, "I got a good feeling about this." And there are a couple of times along the way where they kind of play with those tropes and turn them on their ear. And I really enjoyed that about this movie. It's like a lot of hidden humor for all the Star Wars nerds out there. So I gave it a second shot and I liked it. So maybe you should, if you don't like it or you didn't like it the first time that you watched it, maybe give it a second watch. And or if there's another movie out there that you didn't like, maybe give it a second watch and maybe you'll like it a second time. So that's my time. I'll see you later.